She went into the forest to escape her life, but instead she found a dying wolf and woke up with the moon's power coursing through her veins. Now she's bonded to a pack older than time itself, and there's no turning back. Let's begin. The forest was breathing that night. Not with the calm rhythm of wind and leaf, but with something heavier, like the earth itself had a heartbeat. I felt it under my boots as I stumbled through the rain-soaked undergrowth, every pulse echoing inside my chest. I'd been walking for hours, guided only by the trembling beam of my lantern. The storm had swallowed the sky, and the path behind me was already gone, erased by mud and fog. I wasn't running from anything, not exactly. I was running because staying still hurt too much. When the first cry reached me, I thought it was the wind. A low, broken whimper cut through the thunder, so faint I almost ignored it. But something in that sound, raw pain, maybe desperation, snapped through the haze inside my head. I turned toward it, pushing branches aside until my lantern caught on silver fur matted with blood. It was a wolf. Massive but collapsed against a fallen tree, ribs heaving, eyes dull beneath a film of rain. The arrow in its side gleamed faintly, blackwood slick with its own lifeblood. Every instinct told me to back away. Wolves didn't cry for help, they ended what threatened them. Yet my body moved before my thoughts caught up. I dropped to my knees in the mud. Hey, easy, I whispered though my voice shook. The wolf's breath came in ragged bursts, fogging the air between us. The arrow was silver, hunter's metal. It burned the skin around the wound. I'd heard stories that silver didn't just kill, it cursed, stopping a creature halfway between dying and living. I can't leave you like this, I murmured. My fingers trembled as I snapped the shaft, pulling the arrow free. The wolf jerked, a sound half snarl, half cry bursting from its throat. I pressed my cloak against the wound. Stay with me, please. Thunder cracked. Somewhere deeper in the woods another howl answered, long mourning too far to help. The wolf's eyes fluttered open. Gold. Not the dull gold of an animal, but molten, alive, aware, almost human. Don't look at me like that, I said, but I couldn't look away. I tore a strip from my sleeve, bound the bleeding as best I could, and spoke to keep myself steady. You're going to make it, do you hear me? The rain thickened, washing blood into the soil. I was freezing, soaked, but the wolf's heat seeped into my skin where my hands held the bandage. Something in its gaze softened, and I felt a strange calm settle over us, as if the storm itself bent around this moment. When the last shiver left its body, I thought it had died. Then light, soft, white like moonlight underwater, rose from the wound and spiraled up the air. The wolf's fur shimmered silver for a heartbeat, its breath steadied. What are you? I whispered. The answer came as a feeling, not a sound, a whisper inside my chest, you saved me. I blinked, heart pounding. Who said that? You did not have to help me, the voice breathed, so faint I almost believed it was my imagination. But you did, rest now. Warmth spread through my arms, heavy and drowsy. I tried to fight it, but my eyelids betrayed me. The last thing I saw was the wolf lifting its head toward the clouds, eyes blazing brighter than lightning. Then darkness folded over me. When I woke, the rain was gone. Dawn spilled pale gold through the trees, and every sound felt sharper, closer. The flutter of wings, the drip of water, the low crunch of paws on leaves. My body ached, but the arrow that had pierced the wolf lay beside me, clean of blood. I pushed myself upright. Wolf. A rustle answered behind me, then another, then many. Wolves. They stepped from the mist one by one, silent as breath, fur glinting silver and ash in the weak morning light. 10, maybe 12. Their eyes, all the same impossible gold, locked on me. The largest stood at the front, a scar slashing through its muzzle. And beside it my wolf, whole, strong, alive, the wound was gone, fur smooth where blood had been. My mouth went dry. I helped you, you're okay now. The pack didn't move. Only the healed wolf took a step forward. It lowered its head, gaze never leaving mine. My heart hammered. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the entire pack knelt. Wolves don't bow, but these did, shoulders lowered, ears pressed back, eyes gleaming in something that felt like reverence. I stumbled backward until my shoulders hit a tree. What are you doing? The healed wolf's form shimmered, blurred like heat over stone. A flicker of light ran across its body, and where the beast had stood, a man rose. He was tall, barefooted, skin the color of the storm's last shadow. Silver marks curled across his chest like veins of moonlight. The same scar crossed his face, and his eyes burned with the gold I had seen in the wolf. "You shouldn't be awake yet," he said quietly. His voice was the same one that had spoken inside my head. I stared, words dissolved on my tongue. "You pulled the arrow," he continued, stepping closer. "You touched silver meant for my kind, it should have killed you." I felt the echo of his words in my pulse, but it didn't. No, his gaze softened, almost pained. It bound us. Behind him, the wolves lifted their heads, a low harmony rumbling through the clearing. The sound made the leaves tremble. I pressed my hand to my arm and gasped. A faint pattern glowed beneath the skin, the same silver as his marks, a spiral ending in a crescent. "What is happening to me?" "The mark of the moon bond," he said. "You share my breath now. My pack's strength runs in your veins." I shook my head. "No, I'm human." He reached out, the air between us tightened like invisible threads pulling. "You were." When his fingers brushed my wrist, my vision blurred. For an instant, I saw the forest not as a collection of trees, but as a web of living light. Every heartbeat, every leaf pulsing with the same rhythm I'd felt in the earth the night before. I stumbled back, gasping, "Stop, please." The world snapped normal again. He withdrew his hand slowly, studying me as though I were the miracle. "It seems the bond favors you." "I don't want a bond," I managed. "I just wanted to save a dying animal." A hint of a smile touched his mouth, equal parts sorrow and awe. "And in doing so, you saved an alpha." The word rang through me like thunder. The other wolves lowered their heads deeper, acknowledging his claim. Alpha. Somehow I understood. This was no ordinary pack, no legend whispered by hunters to scare children. This was ancient, older than the forest, bound by a moon that chose its own fate. "I need to go," I said, stepping sideways toward the narrow break in the trees. He didn't stop me, but his eyes followed every movement. "Leave if you wish," he said. "But the bond does not break with distance, it calls." "I won't answer," I whispered. He tilted his head, and for a heartbeat I saw both man and wolf in him, two halves sharing one shadow. "You already have." The breeze shifted. Somewhere above, a slice of sunlight pierced the canopy, falling across his face. For a moment he looked almost human, tired, grateful. "Thank you, Luna," he said softly. I froze. "How do you know my name?" His lips curved faintly. "Because it's written on your soul." Before I could speak, a gust of wind swept the clearing. The wolves turned, vanishing one by one into the trees, silent ghosts in daylight. He lingered a moment longer, eyes meeting mine. "Rest," he murmured again. "The moon will come for you soon." And then he was gone, leaving only paw prints in the dew and the echo of his voice in my chest. I stood alone, the forest once more breathing around me, the faint silver mark on my arm pulsing like a second heartbeat. I told myself it was all a dream. But when the evening wind rose and carried a distant howl through the fading light, something deep inside me answered. The nights after the forest felt different. Shadows lingered longer, corners of my room thick with movement I could almost see, but never fully. I told myself it was nerves, exhaustion from the storm, or the vividness of a dream. But the mark on my arm pulsed, faintly, as if keeping its own rhythm, and every time I touched it I felt a warmth that wasn't my own. Sleep became a battle. My dreams carried me back to the clearing, back to him, back to the golden eyes of the wolfman, the pack kneeling in reverence. Every night the forest whispered, its voice curling into my mind. And every night I woke to find something had changed. The air smelled sharper, sweeter, like pine sap and rain. My senses stretched beyond their human limits. I could hear the creak behind my house before opening my window. I could feel the soft pulse of the earth under my bare feet. And when a cat brushed past the porch railing, I smelled it, not just the animal, but its fear, its hunger, the faint memory of its last meal. By the third night I understood. The bond was not passive. It was alive, thrumming in my veins, teaching, stretching, pulling me towards something I didn't want to admit I craved. Then the howl came. It sliced through the midnight air, low and resonant, vibrating in my chest. I froze. Every instinct in me recognized it immediately, Alpha's call. The golden-eyed wolf, the one I had saved, was summoning me. I didn't need to think. My legs moved before my mind caught up. The forest greeted me like an old memory, though I had never truly been here. Mist curled around the trunks and moonlight spilled in streaks, bathing the ground in silver. And there he was, Alpha, taller and more imposing than I remembered, the same scar etched across his face, eyes burning like molten gold. Around him the pack circled, sleek forms glinting in the pale light, muscles rippling, tails flicking with restrained power. "You came," he said, voice low and calm, though the undercurrent of command made the hair on my arms stand. My throat closed, words were useless here. He stepped closer, and instinctively I felt the bond tighten, pulling me toward him. It wasn't coercion, it was recognition. Something deep in me answered, like a key turning in a lock I didn't know I had. "Luna," he said, using my name as though it had always belonged to him. "The bond is awake." I swallowed hard, the silver mark on my arm pulsing stronger than ever. What does that mean?" He tilted his head, eyes scanning me with something like pride but tempered by caution. "It means you are part of my world now. My strength flows in your veins, my pack is yours to feel, and the moon, she watches you." The hair on my neck stood. The moon. "The moon is older than us both," he said, gesturing toward the sky where clouds drifted past the silver orb above. "She chooses those who can bear her light and those who can protect her. You were chosen the night you saved me. You carry her mark now. You cannot ignore it." I shook my head, panic flaring. "I don't want this, I'm human, normal." He smiled faintly, almost sadly. "You were human, the forest has changed that. Your body is learning, adapting. You will wake stronger, faster, sharper. You will feel what we feel. Hunt when we hunt, protect when we protect. You cannot walk away from this, Luna." A low growl rumbled from the pack, and I flinched. One of the wolves, smaller, lithe, amber-eyed, circled me, sniffing, testing. My pulse raced as the bond thrummed wildly. I felt the wolf's heartbeat, its tension, its curiosity. And then something wild and raw tugged at me, something thrilling and terrifying. "Control it," Alpha's voice echoed in my mind this time, not through my ears. A sensation, a thread of thought, sharp and clear. "The moon will guide you, but you must obey your instincts, not your fear." I closed my eyes, forcing my racing heart to calm. The first wave of the bond surged through me, a tidal current of energy that made my knees weak. Images flashed behind my eyelids, green undergrowth, silver fur, golden eyes, teeth flashing, the brush of claws. I stumbled but held on. When I opened my eyes, the pack was still, watching. Alpha studied me as if weighing the world itself. "You are ready," he said. "The moon will rise tonight, and your awakening will be complete. But know this, once the moon touches you, nothing will ever be the same." My skin prickled. "I'm not sure I want this." He took a step forward, close enough that I felt the warmth radiating off him, a pulse that matched my own. "It is not a choice, Luna, it is destiny." I wanted to run, to pull the cloak over my head and vanish into the mist, but my body betrayed me. I felt the bond hum, a quiet insistence: "Stay, watch, become." And for the first time, I realized that somewhere deep inside, I already wanted to. The moon broke through the clouds, spilling silver across the clearing, touching each wolf in a luminous embrace. Alpha lifted his head, howling, a sound that tore through the night and pulled at every corner of my being. The pack answered, a chorus of reverence, power, and promise. I trembled, knowing I could not retreat. My body shivered, my heart raced, and then a warmth spread from my chest, across my arms, down my legs until it filled every cell. The moon's light touched my mark, and the bond flared. I was no longer just human. I was awake. And the world would never be the same. Night came faster than I expected. The sky bled deep indigo, the forest stretching its shadows like claws over the earth. Every rustle, every whisper of wind, every crack of a twig made my pulse spike. My senses were alive in ways I couldn't control. I smelled damp moss before my eyes registered it. Heard the distant snapping of branches, as if the forest itself were speaking to me. Alpha's presence was close now, a silent rhythm beside me, gidding without touching, moving without sound. His golden eyes glinted in the moonlight, watching me, not with suspicion, but with the intensity of someone preparing you to survive what comes next. "You feel it," he said, his voice low in my mind, threading through the bond. "The pack, the hunt, the moon's call, it's all one song. You must learn to listen." I nodded, though my throat was dry. My hands trembled slightly as I brushed against the silver mark on my arm. The moonlight pulsed through it, and with every heartbeat, the connection to him and the pack deepened. "Tonight," he continued, "you will hunt, not to kill, not yet, but to understand, to feel the bond in motion." The pack moved then, a ripple of fur and muscle, silent as shadows, weaving through the trees. I followed, stumbling at first, senses overloaded. Every leaf, every branch, every insect vibrated in a way that screamed for attention. I smelled the damp earth, the distant river, the faint tang of a rabbit hiding beneath the undergrowth. My stomach twisted with a strange thrill. Alpha glanced at me, his gaze steady and unwavering. "Do not be afraid, you are part of us now." The first target appeared, a deer, slender and alert, grazing beneath a shattered moonbeam. My heart pounded in unison with the pack. The wolf inside me surged, claws itching, muscles coiling. I wanted to run, to leap, but I hesitated, human fear still holding me back. Alpha nudged me gently with the force of thought. "Trust." I exhaled, letting the moon bond guide me. Instinct took over. My body moved like I had done this my entire life. Silent steps, measured breaths, eyes reading every flicker of movement. The pack fanned out, flanking the deer, invisible shadows closing in. And then I felt it, the first true connection to the pack, not just the alpha but every wolf. Their thoughts brushed mine, excitement, hunger, anticipation, patience. I understood the rhythm of the hunt, the balance between predator and prey. I was no longer just human. I was part of something greater. The deer bolted. The pack reacted instantly, a synchronized dance of power and grace. My legs carried me faster than they had ever moved. My lungs burned, but I felt no fatigue. Every sense honed, every movement precise. We cornered the deer near a shallow stream. Alpha moved first, teeth bared, but I froze. The blood in my veins screamed, "Kill." The human in me hesitated, "Mercy." Luna, Alpha's voice threaded through my mind again, firm but calm. "Decide." Decision surged through me like lightning. I stepped forward, placing a hand gently on the deer's shoulder. The pack halted, confused by the choice, but the deer, trembling, sensed no immediate threat. I guided it with a subtle push, letting it escape through the broken undergrowth. The pack relaxed. Alpha's golden eyes met mine, and for the first time a hint of pride softened his intensity. "Control," he murmured. "The first lesson is not in killing, it is in restraint." I stumbled back, breath ragged, hands shaking, but a thrill coursed through me unlike anything I had ever known. I could feel the bond pulsating through every nerve, every muscle, every thought. I was alive in a way that terrified and exhilarated me. The wolves circled, brushing against me in silent acknowledgement. One small, amber-eyed nuzzled my leg, a spark of connection I could not explain. The alpha moved closer, tall and commanding, and brushed my shoulder with his hand, not as a predator but as a guide. "The hunt is more than survival," he said. "It is understanding, it is control, it is knowing who you are when the moon calls." I nodded, still trembling, feeling the forest itself pulsing through my veins. My human heart, my human fear, my human self, it was still there. But beneath it, something stronger, fiercer, more alive had awakened. A howl rose from the distance, the pack answering in harmony. My mark glowed faintly, silver in the moonlight, a rhythm that matched my heartbeat and the pulse of the alpha beside me. I lifted my head, letting the sound fill my lungs, my mind, my soul. The first hunt was over, and yet it had only just begun. I had survived it, I had controlled it, and I knew with every fiber of my being that I would never be the same again. The forest was alive, the moon was watching, and I, Luna, was awake. The days after the first hunt were quiet, almost deceptively so. The forest seemed to exhale around me, leaves whispering secrets only my heightened senses could hear. My mark pulsed faintly beneath my skin, a reminder that the moon's bond was never idle. Even in sunlight I could feel it, the pull, the rhythm, the constant hum of the alpha, the pack, and the forest itself. But quiet is always the precursor to danger. It started with shadows. At first I thought it was my imagination, nerves still raw from the hunt. Dark shapes flitted across the corners of my vision, twisting between trees, always gone when I turned to look. Then the whispers began, low, urgent murmurs I couldn't place, threading through the wind like smoke. My body stiffened, every hair on my arms standing. Alpha appeared without sound, as if conjured from the air itself. Golden eyes locked on mine. "You feel it," he said, not a question but a statement. I nodded, swallowing hard. "What is it?" "Something that should not be here," he said. His voice held an edge I had never heard before, sharp, predatory. The pack circled closer, silent shadows pressing against the edges of the clearing. "The bond is awake, but it can also be tested. Darkness comes for those who draw the moon's favor." My stomach clenched. Darkness. He stepped closer, a shadow among shadows, his presence both comforting and terrifying. "A predator. One older than me, older than your forest. It knows the moon's mark and seeks to destroy it." The hair on my neck prickled. The air felt charged, electric. My bond thrummed like a second heartbeat, faster, more insistent. My hands shook, but Alpha's gaze held me steady. "Can I fight it?" I whispered. "You can," he said, his voice threading directly into my mind now. "But you must face it not with claws but with instinct, with courage, with understanding of who you are now." We moved then through the forest, silent as mist. I felt the pack's anticipation, the Alpha's control, the moon's distant presence urging me onward. And then I saw it, a shape darker than night itself moving against the moonlight, its eyes like molten obsidian, voids that seemed to swallow the world around them. It stopped sensing us. A growl, low and guttural, vibrated in my chest. I froze. Fear prickled at my human mind, but beneath it the moon bond surged, a counterpoint to terror. "You are stronger than you know." Alpha stepped forward, body tense. "It is testing you," he murmured. "Face it, Luna." I drew a shaky breath. The shadow moved closer, fluid and alive, a predator shaped from nightmares. Its presence pressed against my senses, a coldness that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. My instincts screamed to flee, but the bond pulsed, urging me to stand. "Remember control," Alpha's voice threaded through my mind. "Do not let fear command you." I lifted my head. The moonlight caught the silver mark on my arm, and a warmth radiated through me. For the first time I felt the power of the bond not as a whisper but as a roar. My pulse synchronized with the Alpha's. The pack spread out, forming a circle around me, their eyes glowing faintly with loyalty and warning. The shadow lunged. I reacted without thinking. The bond guided me, muscles coiling, senses blazing. I sidestepped, landing on the forest floor with unnatural grace. The shadow twisted, faster than any human could follow, and I felt its intent. Fear, hunger, malice. My hands glowed faintly, silver light pulsing from my fingertips as instinct and moon bond merged. "You can't run from yourself," the Alpha whispered in my mind, and I understood. This fight was not against the creature outside, but the shadow within me, the fear and doubt that could tear the bond apart if I let it. I focused. Breathing deep, I let the silver light surge through me, pulsing with the rhythm of the Alpha, the pack, the moon. The shadow shrieked, a sound that pierced through bone and heart alike, and recoiled. I pressed forward, hand outstretched, and the silver mark flared, a crescent of light striking the dark mass. It screamed, dissolving into the mist, leaving only the cold echo of its hatred behind. My knees buckled and the forest tilted, spinning as adrenaline left me. Alpha caught me before I fell, his grip strong and unyielding. "You faced it," he said quietly, "and you controlled it, not with force alone but with yourself." I shivered, chest heaving, feeling the residual energy of the encounter coursing through me. The pack gathered close, eyes soft, tails brushing against my legs in silent acknowledgement. For the first time I understood the weight of the moon bond, not just power but responsibility. Alpha's golden gaze met mine. "The shadow will return, darkness always does, but now you know it fears the light you carry." I swallowed hard, touching the mark on my arm. It pulsed faintly, almost as if echoing his words. I was no longer just human, no longer merely a witness. I was Luna, bonded to the moon, part of a pack older than memory itself, and the forest, the Alpha, and even the shadows themselves would test me. But for the first time I felt ready. The moon hung high above, silver and watchful. And beneath it I stepped forward, not as a girl who had saved a dying wolf, but as someone who had survived her first true awakening. The forest was restless that night. The wind carried a metallic tang, sharp and electric, like the air itself was warning of what was coming. Every leaf, every branch, every shadow seemed to tremble with anticipation. I felt it in my bones. The moon was calling. Not the gentle, gidding light that had marked me before, but something darker, older, more commanding. Alpha stood beside me, his presence steady and solid, golden eyes locked on the horizon. The pack fanned out silently, muscles taut, fur shimmering under the rising moon. I could feel their strength flowing into me, the bond thrumming with a power I had only begun to understand. "The blood moon rises," he said, voice low and resonant in my mind. "Tonight your bond will be tested as it has never been. Darkness will seek you, the moon will demand everything." My pulse quickened, both from fear and exhilaration. I touched the silver mark on my arm. It pulsed in response, hotter now, almost alive. "I am ready," I told myself, though doubt lingered like a shadow at the edge of my thoughts. Then I saw it. From the depths of the forest, the shadow returned. Not a whisper this time, but a shape solid and grotesque, eyes black as void, claws dragging across the soil like the scrape of death itself. Its roar shattered the silence, a sound that made my chest ache, a predator older than any memory I could hold. Stand your ground, Alpha commanded, the bond threading through me like steel. This is your fight, Luna, show it who you are. I took a shaky breath, letting instinct and bond merge. My senses sharpened, every movement in the forest magnified 1,000-fold. The shadow lunged, faster than any human could follow, and I felt the bond surge, my body moving before my mind could comprehend. I met it head-on. Silver light erupted from my mark, wrapping around my arms like molten chains. The shadow shrieked, striking at me with claws that could tear steel, but I was faster, stronger, guided by the Alpha, by the pack, by the moon itself. The fight was a dance of survival. I felt its rage, its hatred, its hunger, and I countered with something it could not understand: control. Every step, every strike, every movement flowed with the rhythm of the moon bond. I was no longer human in the ordinary sense. I was predator, protector, and light all at once. Alpha moved beside me, a whirlwind of gold and silver, striking with precision, guarding, teaching. The pack weaved through the battle, shadows against shadows, a blur of teeth and fur, their loyalty absolute, their strength overwhelming. The shadow faltered. I could feel it, a crack in its dark essence. My mark blazed, silver flames coiling up my arms, my chest, until the forest itself seemed to glow with our power. I stepped forward, heart pounding, eyes locked on the void that had dared challenge the moon. Now Alpha's voice rang in my mind: end it. I poured every ounce of the moon's bond into one strike, extending my arms, letting the silver light flow freely. The shadow screamed, a sound that shook the forest to its roots, and then, light, pure, unyielding, white as the moon at its zenith, engulfed it. When the echo faded, the shadow was gone. Only silence remained, deep and heavy, like the world itself was exhaling. I dropped to my knees, chest heaving, trembling from the raw intensity of the bond. My mark pulsed gently now, the rhythm of life returning. Alpha knelt beside me, eyes soft, golden gaze filled with pride and something I could not name. You did it, he said quietly. The blood moon tested you and you prevailed, not just with strength but with heart, with control. You are truly bonded now. The pack gathered, circling around us, heads bowed in respect, tails brushing the forest floor in silent harmony. One by one, they lifted their heads, eyes meeting mine, and I felt their acknowledgement deep in my chest. I touched the mark on my arm. It was still warm, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The forest itself seemed to hum, alive with power and promise. Alpha stood, towering and magnificent. Golden eyes on the moon. The bond is complete, he said. The pack, the moon, and now you, Luna, you are one with us. I lifted my head, letting the blood-red light of the rising moon wash over me. Fear had been replaced with clarity, doubt with understanding. I was no longer the girl who had stumbled into a dying wolf in the forest. I was the bonded, the chosen, the moon. And as the howl of the pack echoed through the trees, rising into the crimson sky, I understood something I had never known before. The forest, the moon, and the bond. They had made me something new, something powerful, something unstoppable. The blood moon rose higher, and beneath it I raised my voice, joining the pack in a cry that shook the world. I was awake. I was bonded. And I was ready. If you love this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.